Afternoon. I'm your host, Robert Ruano, and this is our first ever episode of Localized Miami. And today we have the pleasure of having South Miami Mayor Javier Fernandez in attendance. And welcome, Mr. Mayor. How are you?
Robert, it's good to be with you. How you doing today?
Good to see you.
Good.
By the way, Mayor, it's 4:08. You know, our people that were waiting for us were probably wondering what happened. This is a live show supposed to start at 4.
Well, I was here at 4. Probably should have gotten here a little bit earlier.
Really?
And there's more production value associated with this than I would have thought, so. And I realize you're becoming a professional journalist and broadcaster, but
thank you very much.
Good luck with this new endeavor.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it's making me $0, but I appreciate it. Thank you for being here. Thank you very much.
Glad to be your first.
Yes, you're first. Yeah, maybe the last, actually. So it's going to be a unique pleasure for you. Thank you also to Michael Miller and the people at Community News and Rachel, our producer over here. If we do it again, Rachel, I want to put a camera on you so we can kind of talk through the thing, okay? All right, she says yes.
She said thumbs up.
She said thumbs up. All right. So tell me about yourself. You're the mayor of South Miami. When did you win? When did you...
We took office last November of 2022, actually, or November prior. It's been a year and a few months. So practicing lawyer, dad of 2, married for 18 going on 19 years to my wife. Known you for longer than I care to admit as well. Passion for service and being in the community and getting to enjoy this pretty unique opportunity of serving as mayor of our little town.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. A year and some months, huh?
Yeah.
Have you done a lot? Do you feel that you've been able to accomplish a lot in that time?
I think we have. I mean, I'm excited about the trajectory of the city. I think people feel good about, at least the feedback we're getting has been very positive about the leadership. Local government is having its moments right now of some turbulence elsewhere, and I'm happy about the fact that our commission is one that's pretty cohesive, working together around a shared vision. We have our disagreements, but we keep it focused on the work, and it's been a point of pride that we've had a good rapport, and people are working collaboratively, and excited about the fact that we've been able to hire a very experienced manager to replace a good manager before.
Yeah.
And Chip Iglesias has been a great addition.
He's excellent.
New legal counsel as well. That's also, I think, helped improve the operations. And then, we've got a great foundation to build on, notwithstanding that South Miami government may have had, a reputation for being a little volatile at times. There are a lot of great people, a lot of good leaders that have come through the organization and left us a very solid foundation from which to build. So, I think the city has got its best days ahead of it still.
Yeah. And you say you've been a year and a couple months. You're cohesive as a group, you mean on the commission, right? So were there other new people that came in or?
Yeah. So we have our longest tenured commissioner, I call him our senior commissioner, Josh Lieben, has been on the council for going on 11 years. He's now in his last year. We term limited out in November. I'm back on the ballot in November as well. I have a 2-year term. Brian Corey was a holdover commissioner as well, but he had won in a special election, so just served a year before my joining the commission. Joining me in November of 22 were Steve Calle and our vice mayor, Lisa Bonich. So 3 new voices, 3 new perspectives, one recently added voice in Commissioner Corey, and then Commissioner Lieben, who kind of provides the institutional knowledge about the city and the direction where, what's happened in the past.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I assume that takes up a lot of your time. And I want to go back to, because I kind of brushed over it, but you talked about your family and your kids. I mean, being a mayor must take and you're also an attorney, a practicing attorney. So how do you get to do it all? I mean, you've got your family, your wife, fortunately, she's doing well now. But,
yeah.
So.
Yeah, I don't know that the public appreciates that, we're just like everyone else in a lot of ways. We have our own challenges and family. Our own pressures to balance family, work, and these public service, requirements. It's a privilege, honestly, but it's all about prioritization. And so I had the fortune and misfortune of serving the Florida legislature. The fortune because it was an incredible experience. Like anything else in life, people are the best and worst parts of every job you do, right? That experience running in a very competitive race and meeting a ton of people, both in my community and across the state, was incredibly enriching. It also made me understand how vulnerable it is to serve and the pressures it puts on you and your ability to work. And so that was not a positive experience from that perspective. So coming into this job, with that experience, you kind of learn how to compartmentalize and focus where you want to spend your time in public service. I can't do everything. I'd like to do a whole bunch of other things, but it's a $14,000 a year part-time job.
Mm-hmm.
And we accept, that you don't do it for the money, clearly. You do it because there's a passion. And so, you try to organize your day in a way that serves all your interests. So my daily schedule is I try to start the mornings with city-related business. I'll do a breakfast or meetings as early as I can to keep them focused there so that I can get to my paying client work. And then, often where I used to try to go to every event in my district in the House, I've had to realize that that's taking time away from my family. So I spend more time with the kids.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
This past weekend we had a Unity Wall mural that were being painted just down the street from where we're recording today. I just couldn't make that activity. I was happy to support it financially, personally, but couldn't give it my time just because my daughter had a volleyball tournament. Right. And my wife was traveling with my son to Orlando. So you just make compromises and you hope that it all works out for the best.
Yeah. And a question about that, because you said you were a state representative. I know you were state representative. Then you ran for state senate.
Yes, sir.
Right. And then now for mayor. Unfortunately, you didn't win for state senator, but fortunately for the city of South Miami, you didn't win because now you're
actually
mayor.
Fortunate for a lot of reasons. Fortunately for my family, first and foremost, because losing was what gave me the perspective I have now. And so,
in what way?
In that, beyond dealing with the personal setback of losing, which is never fun, never wants to lose, it was a good time for reflection and a realization that my service in Tallahassee, while I was enjoying it, was having not only consequences for my career, it was having consequences for my family.
Yeah, because you couldn't be here.
I couldn't be here as often. So, my time with my kids are going to be 16 and 14 this year. I've got very few years with them left in my household, and I was fortunate that I didn't win because I would have been spending those years away from them as opposed to with them while they're still in my household.
How old are they now?
16 and 14 this year. So
your daughter?
My
16.
Daughter will be 16 this year.
Wow.
My son as well.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Time goes by.
Time flies. Yeah.
Time goes by. I still remember going kayaking before you got married over at Alita.
Yes.
That was a long time ago, before any of us had kids.
Or thought about having kids.
Or thought about having kids. Yeah, the simple times, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So do you ever regret anything about being mayor or running for mayor? I mean, your family commitments and stuff, I'm sure when things go rough, and you're pulled away.
So far, so good. We've been able to have a good balance. And, some days are more fun than others. Again, like I said, people are the best and the worst parts of the job. Getting to meet people from across South Miami and beyond, and getting to help and address their issues is enriching in many ways. But people can also make the job challenging, right? Because people's egos, grievances often come into the job as well. So just got to navigate that. And, it's what I signed up for. So yeah. I'm enjoying it.
And people don't really understand. I guess a lot of people don't understand how government works, and every government is different. So in your case in South Miami, who actually runs the show there?
Yeah, so I would say that our commission operates as like the board of a corporation, right? So I'm the chairman of the board, and I've got other members of the boards of directors, which are the commissioners. We have a CEO who's our city manager, Chip Iglesias, who I mentioned earlier. So it's really his job to run the government day to day. It's our job to kind of set the direction with him and staff, and drive priority changes, policies, initiatives. My job, as much as anything else, is in some ways not only dealing with the internal supervision, but also the external relationship building to help the city find resources. So, spend a lot of time trying to raise resources to build relationships in Tallahassee so we can get appropriations successfully. And we've had some success for the first time in a long time for the city in that process.
Yeah.
I think that's a testament to my experience there as well, and relationships. And so, we've got to play a role that's outward facing, that kind of helps set the tone and direction for the city. But the execution day to day is really, really left to the manager and staff. And
so when you say the tone, what do you feel that your commission and what you have brought to the table is different than the previous commission? Like what is your, what's your vision for the city really?
Well, one, I think this commission, is really focused on doing the work, right? Just focused about being about the work, as opposed to necessarily everyone trying to take credit for our collective successes, right? So I think that's kind of the culture that we've all kind of reinforced as a group. And I mean, I think the we've had before a leadership that was reflective of, I think, more of the past of South Miami. You know, the change to a November election, which I was happy to support Commissioner Liebman with that change. And I was joined by a Republican and Eric Fressenheim, a Democrat, in recommending that calendar change. Really has brought on a commission I think is more broadly representative of the current population of South Miami. And I think that has resulted also in a perspective shift that's important, right? So we are committed to seeing our downtown regenerated, redeveloped, flourish. We understand that that is kind of a regional center, not just for South Miami, but for our little, sub-market here that includes Coral Gables, Northern Pinecrest, unincorporated Dade. And, you know, we are committed to investing in the physical plant of the city and just trying to build on a lot of the financial stewardship of past commissions, which is very positive. The city has a perfect credit rating, very well reserved, but leveraging that financial strength into investment, right? So we're going to be talking about, possibly borrowing here to deal with some pressing issues and improve the physical plan of our parks. You know, we've been working really hard to upgrade a park like South Miami Park. That has a very vibrant soccer program, but a very underwhelming physical plan, right? No bathrooms, no concession facilities, turf is in terrible shape. And so we just want to make sure that everything we do, we're raising the level and meeting our constituents' needs.
And you mentioned the downtown. The downtown obviously is important to a lot of people.
Or the town center. I should probably.
That's what the town center?
Some of my friends would be upset that I'm calling it the downtown.
Okay, the town center. Yeah, all right. Yeah. My office is in the town center now, right?
Good.
So,
well, congratulations.
So you can come by soon. So the town centers are obviously there's a lot of changes there. Right across from our friends at Tavern is the big where Winn-Dixie is.
Yeah, the Avalon Bay project.
Yeah. So tell us about that. I mean, we're wondering. We see it go up. It's going up fast. What's that going to be?
So it's going to be 9 stories of residential above a new Fresh Market grocery store, and I believe there'll also be some space for an inline restaurant as part of that complex. So it's going to be a residential community. I think one of the things rental. And so, we're hoping, particularly Commissioner Liebman's been very focused on also including ownership as part of that mix. We're all supportive of that. But I think generally what we want to see is more people return and live in the town center, right? Because you need feet on the street to support the retail, the food and beverage there, and have that be successful. So we've been focused in the near term on events, ways to kind of activate. We had a wonderful Porsche event this past weekend.
I saw.
Helped animate the town center. And, great, thanks to the owners of Sunset Place, Mr. Vadilla and others for helping to curate that. And so we want to do more of that in the short term. Over the long term, really the answer is bringing more people to live in the town center.
And I hear Sunset Place is also changing. That might also have residential.
Yeah.
Or what's that going to be? Like?
If I wish I had $1 for every time I got asked about Sunset Place by people on the street.
All right, we won't ask you. Don't say anything here if you don't want to.
Give you $1. It's good.
All right.
But we're proud to have passed a slate of zoning changes that hopefully will allow them to bring a project forward here in the next few months. Unfortunately, the prior commissions took a long time to approve a project concept that ultimately was abandoned by the prior ownership. And so we're 5 to 7 years behind, a competitor set like Coco Walk, where we've seen a substantial transformation in Coconut Grove. That's been part of the renewed energy there. And so, hopefully 5 to 7 years looking forward, we'll have something comparable by way of an amenity set that is the reason I moved to South Miami, right? My wife and I live 10 blocks from the town center. We want to be able to walk or bike to that area. And my greatest frustration is that my 15-year-old daughter, soon to be 16-year-old daughter, doesn't want to spend any time in our town center. She wants to go to places like Merrick Park or the Grove or the Falls even, rather than just down the street from her home, because there's not the vibrancy that you see elsewhere.
And so, but do you have a sense of what's going to go in Sunset Place or no, not yet?
It's going to be a mix of things. From what we've been told, it'll be a combination of residential, inline retail at the ground floor of a lot of buildings, a substantial focus on food and beverage. We're hoping that they'll retain area stage and maybe incorporate some more of an arts
Nice.
component to it. You know, in my wildest fantasies, I'd love to see something like a Van Dyke space from the old Lincoln Road days,
Nice. Yeah.
where you could have kids from Frost perform and have live music be a focal point of that. Bring some of the gospel groups that we have in our historically African American churches to come in and perform there as well, and highlight more of the culture of South Miami that way. But it's going to be a mix of office, hotel, residential, retail, and hopefully with a really dynamic, world-class design by Thomas Heatherwick.
And then they own it outright and they're developing it, or they're bringing other people into.
That's to be determined. I don't have those answers yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty exciting. I know you've got there's also, I think, a 13-story student housing coming in.
Yeah,
next
so right
to-
adjacent to the Metro Rail station. That's a county approved project. It's on what they call a rapid transit zone designated parcel. The Trio Group is building a second phase of
Trio Group.
Yeah,
Yeah.
building a second phase of student housing. Our friend Adebude Morius is spearheading that project, and we welcome the student housing. It adds to the vibrancy. I've had a lot of conversations with about being a partner as it grows, looking at a lot of the stuff that's not core academic, back of house where they have accountants and lawyers and grant administrators that need office space, bringing it to South Miami, because that provides for the daytime kind of activity that would support our food and beverage scene. So we've had conversations about how we can help them grow in a way that's responsible, that can feed our growth and the dynamism of our town center. And also, hopefully attract some of their faculty to live in product. They've got professionals that earn good incomes above the workforce housing levels, well above that may want to trade out of single family residential product in the Gables and may want to live in vertical ownership products. So trying to understand their student housing needs and leverage that to kind of create more of a different market than what we've had historically, which is just student focused housing.
That's wonderful. So basically in the next 2 years, you're going to have easily, I mean, maybe the numbers are in my head wrong, but probably another 400 to 500 units coming up, considering between the Winn-Dixie spot, the student housing, and La Park with the related group.
Yeah, no, I mean, what's happening in terms of the transformation of Somi Park in that area where Related has been rebuilding that public housing community is pretty remarkable. Those families that have lived there historically will all be coming back, which is great, and will be living in much better housing conditions. There'll be a cadre of new units for people at all income levels. We're hoping that we'll be able to work with people in the existing neighborhood that maybe are in substandard housing conditions and, make sure that they qualify for some of the units. And as you know, Robert, some of the challenges there are making sure that people are credit ready to kind of get into those units. So, but it's a wonderful transformation that's ongoing, and we're excited about that as well.
That's great. Yeah, I'm fortunate enough to have a lot of information on South Miami, as you know. So I've been really excited to see this kind of transformation come to basically it's a 3 to 4 block area. So there's a concentration of that density. It's going to increase. It's really going to make this area really nice and walkable.
Yeah, look, we have been I have been very focused in conversations with Sunset Place about, whatever we do there, we don't lose our identity, right? And I think the identity of South Miami is, in the future kind of money shot of our town center, is this historic scale Main Street on Sunset,
Right.
2 stories, maybe 4 stories, because that's what the zoning allows today, juxtaposed against the density, right? With a transit station at the end of it. And I think that juxtaposition of the old and the new is really what should define us, because it's what's going to make us different as compared to downtown Dadeland or other areas where you have transit situated right nearby it.
Well, question. I live in Coral Gables, as you know. So I kind of see a comparison or a similarity between the town center here and Miracle Mile. Obviously different, but there's a small comparison. What do you think that Miracle Mile has done that you could learn from in terms of the growth that's going to be happening in South Miami, particularly in the town center? Or maybe learn from in a good way or a bad way?
Yeah, I think the communities are very different. They've got very different identities. And, but I think there are lessons to be learned. I think the quality of the streetscape on Miracle Mile, you can argue about the aesthetics, but the investment is obvious, right? And so I think We are now working on a branding exercise, placemaking exercise, and we just retained Plus Urbia to help us kind of come up with an aesthetic for our town center. Hopefully, it's one that Sunset Place will leverage, and hopefully, something that we can work with the Gables on 57th Avenue to co-brand the street, so we have one uniform kind of appearance for
On
that,
the other side?
for that gateway on 57th Avenue south of US 1. So definitely, I think, borrowing from, the idea that we need to invest in the place is something that we've learned is a net positive. I think the activation of Geralda similarly is a lesson that we can possibly apply to places in South Miami. We've had a lot of conversation with the ownership at Sunset Place about, reconnecting the street grid, but also making it a street grid that can also be shut down so we can have, events that don't disrupt typical commerce, right?
Right.
And allow the F&B to spill onto the street. So
F&B?
yeah, food and beverage, excuse
Okay,
me,
thank you.
establishments, activities
Sorry.
that spill out on the street. I know I get into the, so, those I think are positive lessons that we can take away in terms of, things where I think we will maybe go in a different direction is that we're going to invite some of the density around the edges of that, of those commercial corridors, where I think the Gables has had more of a conversation about whether they really want height proximate to Miracle Mile, right up against Miracle Mile.
Right.
And have not really embraced that. And so you see maybe less of a dynamism 24 hours a day, where I want to have more of a vibrant, close to 24/7 town center feel as we can get to it, and with a focus on really changing the perspective of people on the west side of US as well, which has had, now with Somi Park, more residential units kind of embedded in it, and maybe changing, we're looking at also redeveloping our City Hall campus to activate it with other uses so that, we kind of dilute the concentration of civic uses, the hospital, City Hall, police station, transit, all the confluence of those two hospitals in our uses have really kind of, in some cases, deadened the west half of our town center.
Right.
After the typical 5 o'clock day ends.
And that's actually leads me to a good question: is what's going on with City Hall? I mean, there was a plan to do a new police station, to do a new City Hall, and is that still in the works?
It is. I mean, there have been many iterations of it. For the public, we have a ballot initiative, a ballot question that's on the ballot March 19th in the primary. We're going to actively start campaigning on it now to basically give us, under the charter, the ability to lease that land for longer than 50 years. Right now, we're limited at a 50-year lease term. In the past, the redevelopment concepts have contemplated an outright sale of that city-owned land. As good a commission I think we have today, we're prone to make mistakes. The markets change, and so not selling it would be my preference. I prefer to lease it long-term. I prefer that the city own its assets long-term as opposed to dispose of them. So we're going to ask the public for that vote of confidence to allow us in that one circumstance to go beyond the current 50-year term.
Why? Because it's in your charter for 50
It's in our
years?
charter currently. So that would be a charter modification that, hopefully we'll get the approval for. And we're starting a process on February 6th when we approve an RFQ to go out and try to select the right partner to help us with that redevelopment effort. And then hopefully we'll shortlist a couple of firms and then do an RFP to get a formal proposal as to what their development vision would be, and the attendant economics to that as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's exciting. So we're almost out of time, but I do want to ask you one thing. What do you feel if you could let people know about South Miami, one thing you wanted them to take away from South Miami, what would that be? Like, about this city? What's important about it? What's special about it?
I think what's special, it's really a small community. People know each other, people care for each other. And I think, our police service really encapsulates that more than any other service that we offer as a city, right? They're our guardians and they're also our ambassadors, right? And they know everyone very intimately. There's very close contact. It is the city of pleasant living to its core, because it's a small town community in the middle of a major metropolitan area. And so that's a character we want to retain. Because it's just who we are. So excited about what the future brings, but we always want to stay rooted in that past.
Yeah, and so you're running again in November.
Yep.
Right. You got 2 more years.
We'll see.
Well,
Yeah.
you've got a total. You're kind of like the Gables. So you're a total of 8 years.
I haven't even thought about.
two-year terms?
That's a question I don't even know the answer to. So, my when I ran in 2022, my thought was I would serve 6 years, and because that perfectly matches up with the time I've got left with my kids in the house.
Oh, okay.
And then see what we decide later with life. So if I'm blessed to have another term, we'll run through it like it's a sprint, even though it's a marathon, and see where we end up. This has been a really productive year. We're looking forward to a lot more success in 2024 with my colleagues on the commission, and we'll just keep doing it 2 years at a time until someone tells me to stop.
Oh, great, man.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're doing. I assume you have thick skin because you have to have thick skin to be a politician, right? I assume.
Look, I whatever thick skin I was lacking, I got after my 2018 race. It was a pretty rough and tumble first introduction to politics. And
Which one was that?
That was a special election
With
Andrew Vargas, who ironically has become a friend.
Okay.
And lots of nasty things were said on both sides, and so you quickly realize that for people that do this for a living, campaign work, it's a game to them. Although it's your reputation that's being sullied, so you just try to take it with a smile and laugh it off, and realize at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is how you feel about the person that you're looking at in the mirror. And if you feel good about what you're doing and who you are, what people say about you will sort itself out.
Do you notice your hair graying, just like in the
I'm just glad I have hair, Robert.
Yeah,
so,
that's very good. It looks good. It looks good.
Like I tell my wife, gray hair is better than no hair, so I'll take it every day.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, let's be clear. You are the real Javier, right?
Yes, I still
There is
am.
no other Javier, right?
No other
You're on the real
Javier.
Javier. All right. Thank you very much, Mayor.
Thanks,
I appreciate
Robert.
your
It's an
time.
opportunity to join you today.
Thank you for coming on the first and maybe last episode of Localized Miami.
Hopefully we didn't bore all the audience today.
No, there's at least 2 people still watching. Thank you all